Welcome to lesson 1.1. So we're going to be talking about types of numbers. So you guys have used these type of numbers pretty much your entire elementary career, but now we're kind of deep diving into what that actually means, because later on in the year we're going to learn about rational numbers, and so we need to make sure you have the foundation of integers and how to work with them before we ever do rational numbers. So you guys have learned part of the number system. So the first way that people learn how to count, or even babies learn how to count, is with their fingers. So those are called natural numbers. Okay, because think about it, you naturally can count with your finger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those numbers can be anything like 1, 3, 5, 10, 27, anything like that. So that set of numbers is the natural numbers. Then the next set of numbers is whole numbers. Now, whole numbers and natural numbers are the same. The only difference is that it includes 0. So whole numbers are any number 0 and above. So natural numbers are from 1 and above. Whole numbers are from 0 and above. So 1, 3, 5, 22, 13. Okay, and so those are the two things you've probably worked with throughout elementary school, and you have dealt with rational numbers because that would be fractions, but you're going to learn how to do with integers now. And so integers is a whole number that can be positive, negative, or 0, but cannot be a fractional value. So in this blank over here, you're going to write integers. So integers is just adding in negative numbers, okay? So -7 is an integer. -12, 3 is considered an integer. 14, 27, -27, 1,000. The only qualifier it needs to be an integer is that it's a whole number. So it can be positive, it can be negative, it can be 0, but it cannot have a fractional value. So if it can't have a fractional value, then that means it can't be a fraction and it can't be a decimal, because decimals are fractions. Okay, so some things that we do with integers, we use them to kind of represent situations, which you guys have done before, like when you're a little bit older, maybe now, you're going to have a bank account and it'll say minus $5 from your account. Well, -$5 means $5 came out of your account, right? But if you added $5, it would have a positive $5, okay? So we use a positive integer when the value is being added or increased, and a negative integer when the value is being subtracted or decreased. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just kind of identify some numbers that are integers. So we're going to go through this box right here and decide which ones are integers. So -20 is a whole number that is negative, so that is an integer. Okay, 2/3, that is a fractional value, so that is not an integer. 4.5, that's a fractional value, not an integer. 1.7, fractional value, not an integer. 6 is an integer. -5 is an integer. 8 3/4 is a fractional value, not an integer. 1,603 is an integer, okay, because it's a whole number. It's a bigger whole number, but it is still a whole number. 0 is an integer. 18 is an integer. -156 is an integer. It's a whole number, okay, it's just negative. -1/5 is not an integer. -8.9 is not an integer. Both of those are rational numbers, which we'll get to later on in the year. -10 is an integer. Okay, so the first thing you have to be able to do is just identify what type of number it is. So is it an integer? Is it not? all of that. Eventually we'll get to where we're doing rational and irrational, but that later on in the year. Okay, so then the other thing we can do is write an integer for each situation. So if I'm buying 3 notebooks, then I'm gaining them, so that would be a positive 3, right? Or if I'm spending $15, that would be a negative 15, because I'm spending it, that means I'm losing it. It's not going out, it's going away. Throwing out 2 pencils, I lost 2 pencils, that's minus 2. Walking 4 miles, that's a positive number, because distance is always positive, which we all need next lesson. Losing 5 pounds, so we lost 5 pounds, so minus 5. Getting 10 new games, that would be a positive 10. Jumping up 3 feet, that would be a positive 3. And then losing a toe, which is sad, would be minus 1. So you have no more pinky toes. So that's it for lesson 1.1. See ya.